Welcome to the Locked On Titans podcast. I am your host, Tyler Rowland. Titans fans, it is a Tuesday edition of the Locked On Titans podcast. And now that the dust has settled on the 2022 NFL draft, it is time to give out some draft grades for the Titans. I'm going to go through every single pick, give out a letter grade for every single selection, and I'm going to give out an overall grade for John Robinson's 2022 NFL Draft Haul. Also, A.J. Brown was introduced as a member of the Philadelphia Eagles on Monday, and some of his comments have me raising my eyebrow. So we'll dive into all of that and more on a Tuesday edition of the Locked On Titans podcast. Let's get it.
You are Locked On Titans, your daily Tennessee Titans podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Titans fans, it is a Tuesday edition of the Locked On Titans podcast. We're doing NFL draft grades, going through every pick, every selection, giving out a letter grade, and giving a grade to the overall draft class. Also talking about A.J. Brown's interesting comments in his opening press conference with the Philadelphia Eagles. Before we get into all of that, do want to remind you guys, I am the host of the Locked On Titans podcast. Tyler Rowland, been a Tennessee Titans fanatic for nearly 25 years, also a certified film junkie. We're going to be talking all the news and notes out of Nashville here on the Locked On Titans podcast, but I also look at everything through a schematic lens, and we're breaking down the X's and O's, not only during the regular season, but all year long. Thank you for making the Locked On Titans podcast your first listen every day. If this is your first ever listen, make sure you subscribe on whatever platform you do stream. You're going to find the Locked On Titans podcast everywhere and always free. That includes the Locked On Titans YouTube channel. Subscribe there. Smash that notification bell so you know when the content goes live. Throw a thumbs up on the video if you're watching on YouTube right now. Check me out on Twitter at TicTacTitans for all my film breakdowns. Check out the show Facebook page at Locked On Titans Pod. But with all that being said, going to be diving into my NFL draft grades, but the first pick for the Titans, trading up to pick 18 and getting Treylon Burks, to say it correctly, Treylon Burks. You can't evaluate the selection of Burks without evaluating what led to it. And of course, I mean the A.J. Brown trade. There's no way to separate the selection of Burks from everything that took place with A.J. Brown. There's no way to do that. And that's why I want to start our draft grade conversation with some of the comments that A.J. Brown had when he came to the Philadelphia Eagles on Monday, literally about 30 minutes ago. A.J. Brown was introduced as a Philadelphia Eagle. And I just want to go to the first comments that he had to say about what happened. A.J. said that leading up to the trade, he just wanted to be appreciated for his work. So that's an interesting comment right there. But he has no bad blood with the Titans as they drafted him and got his career going. That sounds all good, playing it right, makes sense. But there's been a back and forth as to whether or not A.J. Brown requested a trade. There's been a back and forth as to how much he was offered. There's AJ's side, which we got from Teron Davenport's article. And then there is the other side, the Titans side, which we got from John Glennon and we got from Diana Rossini from ESPN. Well, this comment right here makes it hard for me to believe AJ's side of things. AJ never once mentioned that he requested a trade in his defense of himself to Teron Davenport. So he was asked at the press conference on Monday, AJ, did you request a trade from the Titans? He said, I don't want to look back, just want to move forward. Also said, I'm going to try not to get into all that. Guys, it's he said, she said. And whenever you go through a he said, she said situation, you never get the real truth. But I'm sorry, if you ask somebody about something, they say, oh, I don't want to live in the past. I'm just moving forward. Oh, I'm not going to get into all that. What does that mean? That means yes. That means yes. Cut the crap. A.J. Brown requested a trade from the Titans. And, the more you look at it with Tory Dandy and Deebo Samuel being, having the same agent as A.J. Brown, Tory Dandy from CAA, and you look at everything going on with the wide receivers right now, it's obvious what happened. Tory Dandy said, I'm going to get A.J. Brown as much money as he could possibly get. That's my obligation as his agent. He told A.J. to cut off communication with the team because the Titans started with a low offer to begin negotiations, which is normal. And then he had A.J. force the issue. And I think it's funny that over the weekend, Odell Beckham Jr. is tweeting out, I know where Deebo Samuel is going on. That's an agent favor. Hey, Odell, tweet some stuff about Deebo. Maybe it'll drum up some more interest. We'll get more out of him. We'll get a bigger contract. I mean, honestly, I'm willing to even pontificate on the possibility that AJ's agent went out and found a team that would pay him the amount of money that he wanted to get AJ. And he said, hey, AJ, there is a team out there that's going to give you $25 million a year. Force a trade from the Titans. It could have been all worked out and put the Titans in a spot where, what are they going to do? They basically got backdoored. I'm not saying that's what happened, but I'm saying it sure looks like it, right? Because if you go look at AJ's body language, he doesn't look like a guy who was vengeful, doesn't look like a guy who was mad at the Titans personally. This does look, and I don't want to absolve AJ of wrongdoing here, but it does look like a completely orchestrated backdoor deal by Tory Dandy from CAA. That's what it looks like. I don't know that for certain. I have no intel. But obviously, AJ requested a trade. He got one low offer, and the agent said, hey, let's act like that's a disrespectful offer and not negotiate in good faith. We'll just go out and I'll backdoor find a way to find a team who will pay you what you want, and then we'll force a trade by requesting one outright before the draft. I mean, that's what it looks like right now. And AJ not saying anything to say otherwise basically confirms it in my mind. So, yeah, Aaron Stacy said, great point, Aaron. Seems like the agent is the common denominator. I'm not trying to absolve AJ of wrongdoing by blaming his agent for orchestrating everything. I'm not trying to absolve the Titans of wrongdoing. They maybe could have done more. Don't come with such a low offer. Maybe the Titans could have done more to keep him. But dear God, it sure looks like an orchestrated, behind-the-scenes, backdoor deal by Tory Dandy from CAA to get AJ to a place that would give him the most money possible, even if it wasn't the best fit or the right move for AJ. Now, the agent's job, get the client the most money possible, because you know what that does for the agent? It gets the agent the most money possible. The agent is paid off what his client gets paid. But boy, this sure does seem like something a little nefarious, in my opinion. Either way, the Titans had to move on. It looks like their hand was forced. I blame them a little bit less now. And when we look at the two conflicting reports, one from AJ, one from the Titans side, I can't help it, but I tend to lead towards the Titans side because AJ is not willing to deny the things that were accused of him in the Titans side of the story. So it sure does look like everything the Titans reported to Diana and John Glennon sure seems to be true. But moving forward, as the Titans did and as we need to do, we're going to give out some NFL draft grades. I gave John Robinson's draft a B+ overall. I'm going to explain to you how I got there and the individual grade that I gave to each player. Before we get into that, though, do want to remind you guys about BetOnline.net. BetOnline.net is your number one source for all your betting needs, all your sports wagering information. They have all the latest lines, all the latest props, all the latest odds, everything you can imagine. The NBA playoffs are going strong. The MLB Major League season has kicked off. There's always UFC. There's always boxing. There's always golfing. And you can even bet on Defensive Player of the Year awards, MVP, Offensive Rookie of the Year. You can bet on over-under stats on Treylon Burks. Go to betonline.net right now. Check out their brand new website. Use your desktop or your mobile device and see all they have to offer. BetOnline, where the game starts. Titans fans, this is your daily reminder to drink some water. But other than that, we are going to continue this NFL draft grade breakdown. We just talked about A.J. Brown, and we went long because A.J. had comments. And man, I just can't help. I hate to put the tinfoil hat on and be tinfoil Tyler out here, but I just can't help but put two and two together when I see stories like that. And real quickly, MF Loco, thoughts on D Hop? DeAndre Hopkins was suspended for 6 games for PED use. Be interesting to watch that breakdown. But we're going to get into these draft grades. Again, I gave John Robinson's draft overall a B plus. I'm going to get into my individual grades for each player and how we actually arrived at that overall draft grade. But before we do, I want to thank you guys again for making the Locked On Titans podcast your first listen every day. If this is your first ever listen, make sure you subscribe on whatever platform you do stream. I'm going to be putting out daily Monday through Friday free Tennessee Titans content on all podcast platforms, including the Locked On Titans YouTube channel. So make sure that you subscribe. But moving into these draft grades, like I said, you can't separate the A.J. Brown situation from the Traylon Burks draft pick at 18. So for me, that's a B. I'm going to give that whole situation a B. And I want to come in here. Limit said, what stops your front office from doing the same thing again to Burks if he's also good? Also, 80% isn't good enough because the Eagles traded Carson Wentz for Burks. Well, how the draft picks all get traded around, what it is for player to player, that doesn't really matter from the Titans' perspective. But yeah, what if the Titans? But look, the Titans paid Harold Landry. The Titans paid Ryan Tannehill. The Titans paid Derrick Henry. The Titans paid Taylor Lewan. The Titans paid Kevin Byard. The Titans paid Bud Dupree, an outside free agent. I mean, what do you want? The Titans paid Kevin Byard. The Titans pay people. That's why, again, this situation looks like A.J. Brown's agent really did some back deal dirty dealings and got AJ out of there to get him more money, the most money possible. Just which team's going to give him the most money? I'm going to force a trade there. That's what it looked like happened. So I don't know. I'm not going to blame the front office and act like the Titans are cheap and don't pay people. It's simply not true. It's just simply not bored out on what's happened since John Robinson's taken over. They pay people who deserve it. And they would have paid AJ if not for his agent. I truly do believe that. So, anyways, let's move into these grades. I gave a B for Traylon Burks. He's a really good player who I liked. I thought he was a top fit for the Titans. But there's no way around it. This is a downgrade from A.J. Brown. It can't be ignored. Burks is underdeveloped as an outside wide receiver. There's no way around it. This is a B. It can't be an A when the Titans have downgraded from A.J. Brown to Traylon Burks. It just can't be. Giving away in my opinion, your best player on your whole team, the MVP of your team last year, according to my awards, to give out the best player on your team, even if you get a good player, even if you were forced to do it, all the circumstances, it still ends up as a B for me with Traylon Burks. Moving into the next one, though, Roger McCreary. I'm just going to give this a B as well. Yes, McCreary is a good player. Yes, I think he can find a role. But with the needs at wide receiver, the needs at interior offensive line that weren't even addressed, even edge rusher, a defensive lineman, I think if you're going to go defensive line or cornerback, I tend defensive line. So I like McCreary. Again, I think he's going to be a good player. He's going to carve out a role for the Titans. I truly do believe that. He's going to carve out a role as a rookie and potentially grow going forward. But his role early on is not clear cut. It needs to be established. And you can't ignore the need. There wasn't a huge need at cornerback compared to other positions. So with need and role being a little murky, even with McCreary being a good player, I got to give it a B. So it's a B for Burks. It's a B for McCreary. Now we get into day two, the next two picks for the Titans here. Number one, day two, McCreary, continuing day two. Number two here is Nicholas Petit-Ferrer, the offensive tackle out of Ohio State. And for my grade on this one, I gave it a B+. At 69, to get one of the better offensive tackles, that is a great value to me. So value is there. The Titans need offensive tackle. They need offensive line depth, youth anyways. Boom. There we go. And I think that MPF is just a perfect scheme fit for the Titans with his ability on combo blocks, getting up to the second level, executing at the second level. NPF, to me, easy, is a B plus. So we got a B for Burks, a B for McCreary, a B plus for Nicholas Petit-Ferrer. Then, of course, we cap off day 2 of the NFL draft with Malik Willis, which, guys, guess in the chat right now what grade I gave the Malik Willis pick at 86. Just throw some guesses in. Duh, an A plus. I mean, think about it. The value of quarterback and a guy of his skill set, the potential that a guy of his skill set has. And really, what it comes down to most, the number one thing for me is Jesse Johnson said F. Great. The number one thing for me is the risk. What is the risk? Pick 86 when you had 9 picks in the draft? The Titans had 9 players in their draft class. And pick 86, a high upside, the most upside of any quarterback in the draft at pick 86, when you had 9 picks, there is literally no risk. There's no risk. I mean, what's the downside? If he's god awful and he's literally awful, then the Titans just have Ryan Tannehill again in 2023. And then after 2023, you get rid of Tannehill and you don't have to keep Malik Willis. Pick 86. There's literally no risk here. There's no downside to the Malik Willis pick at all. So with his potential upside as a player, with the value that they got at pick at 86, with the risk, which is 0, and with the fit, with him being able to sit for a year and develop, which is the ideal situation for him as a player. It's ideal for the player. It's ideal for the team. There's no risk. There's all upside. It's an A plus. It is an A plus draft pick, hands down. No questions about it. No risk at all. So love that. I'm seeing some comments here that I really like. Reggie Robinson from SMU. If he's healthy, he can absolutely be a solid player. No risk. Jesse Johnson. Oh, okay. Smart move. Although I don't think Malik will be a starter. Okay, Jesse, that's fair. So Malik Willis does have a lot of development to get through. Let's say Malik Willis does not become a starting level player in the NFL. It's pick 86. The Titans wasted pick, what was it, 29 on Isaiah Wilson. They wasted a huge contract on Beasley and Jadeveon Clowney. They sent a second-round pick for Julio Jones. So compared to the risk that those moves were and those picks were, this is nothing. This is nothing. So, yeah, no risk. That you can't hate on it. You can't. If you don't think he's going to be a good player, then just say it sucks that he's not going to be a good player. But don't act like it was some great sacrifice the Titans made to get him at 86. They got 9 players in their draft class. So, anyways, an A plus for Willis. So where we're at right now, I got a B plus overall grade for the draft. I got a B for Burks. I got a B for McCreary. I got a B plus for NPF. I got an A plus for Malik Willis. And we are going to continue today's show breaking down draft grades and AJ Brown's comments. We are going to get into day 3 of the draft, and I'm going to give out those grades. Before we get into that, though, do want to tell you guys about rockauto.com. Guys, summer is right around the corner. Your car's going to get hot. A lot of things start messing up on your vehicle during the summertime when it gets hot and it starts to overheat. You can find everything that you could ever need for your vehicle at rockauto.com. Rockauto.com is a family business that's been serving online parts customers for over 20 years. RockAuto.com's online catalog is super easy to navigate. You can find everything from brake parts to tail lamps to motor oil. They even have brand new carpet. So make sure that you guys check out rockauto.com right now. See all the parts available for your car or truck. And when you make your purchase, make sure that you write Locked On in the How Did You Hear About Us box right underneath where you put your shipping information so they know that I sent you. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all of the parts your car will ever need. rockauto.com. All right, guys, we are going to cap off this Tuesday edition of the Locked On Titans podcast. I want to thank you guys for making the Locked On Titans podcast your first listen every day. As for your second listen, check out the Locked On NFL podcast. You get all your Titans news here with me every single day, Monday through Friday. Get all your NFL news after this with the Locked On NFL podcast. And I'm actually the Thursday host of the Locked On NFL podcast. So I would appreciate your support if you would subscribe to the Locked On NFL YouTube channel. It's free all the time. Hit that notification bell. But again, you get your Titans news here with me, get your national NFL news with the Locked On NFL podcast. You guys are throwing in a ton of comments. Number one, I want to ask for some help. The last few live streams I've done, my audio started going crazy at the end of the show. I'm trying to fix it, trying to do some technical touches here and there. So if the audio bugs out again, please tell me. I'm working through this. Started doing lives over the weekend for the draft. I'm listing help from you guys. We're doing this together. We're a team, me and you guys. So let me know if the audio starts to mess up. But you guys have got a ton of questions. So before we get into the last few draft grades, I want to talk with you guys a little bit. Okay. Listen, I don't want to hate. I don't like to be vengeful. AJ Brown talks Titans trade. What? You missed the first segment, Connor. He had some comments. Basically, he wouldn't comment on whether or not he requested a trade or not from the Titans. He actually said he doesn't want to look at the past. He wants to move forward. He's not going to talk about that right now. So basically, AJ for sure requested a trade. What's he say? You got money that. I mean, we get money. All right. Get money, boys. I don't know. I don't know what you're asking me there. I'm sorry. Okay. Day 3 where J Rob did his best work. Yes, exactly. So getting into day 3 where J Rob did, in fact, do his best work. Good call, Jameson. Oh, I like the way that name is spelled too. Jameson. Anyways, 3 years of Spanish, baby. Get at me. But moving forward, day 3 grade. Hassan Haskins, out of Michigan, running back for me, B+. Good fit. The Titans needed a backup bruiser. I fully believe that. Special teams ability as well, so versatility as a guy at the back end of the roster, which is going to be incredibly important to sticking on the team. Also, I think Haskins has some potential. Maybe not to be a starting back, but to be a really good bruising back in a rotation. So, hey, we don't want to think about this. I get it. But if Derrick Henry does break down, and let's say this is his last year of really full-on all-pro, number 1 first-team production, maybe he gets another injury, I think the next version of the Titans running back room, which includes Hassan Haskins as the bruiser and then a new scat back guy with a little more talent, maybe. Now I'm putting that at the end of my priority list. Don't take that as the number 1 thing. But I think all the other things I said true. Good value there, great fit, special teams value. I'm giving a B+ to the Hassan Haskins pick. And then finally, my boy, Chigakonkwo. Finally, we have made it. It's an A- for me. Incredible potential. I mean, it's Jonnu Smith 2.0. I hate to be lazy there, but it's just so obvious when you pop on the tape. He's got a great fit for the position. The Titans have 2 guys in Jeff Swaim and Austin Hooper who aren't the most explosive, who don't have great yards after the catch ability, who don't have great speed. Well, Okonkwo offers all that, so he's a great complement to the rest of the tight end room. It was a big need to get a young tight end in there. And at 143, incredible value as well to get a guy who I think could be one of the better tight ends in this class all the way down at 143. That's a great value. So an A- for Chigakonkwo. Next, Kyle Phillips at 163. It's a B for me. That's just a B. Yes, I'm excited about his ability in the slot. Punt returner, nearly 20 yards of punt return, 2 punt return touchdowns in college. He's got that ability, that value, that adds to that special teams versatility that I said is going to be key for the back end of the roster. Not only that, but I think he's a guy who could come in and contribute right away in that Chester Rogers role. But here's my drawback and why he only got a B for me. The Titans needed to go wide receiver earlier than this. Yeah, they got Treylon Burks at 18. But I think when you trade away A.J. Brown, just getting Treylon Burks does not cover it, okay? That does not cover the need. And getting Treylon Burks and then getting Kyle Phillips doesn't quite cover it. If the Titans would have went with Treylon Burks and then followed that up with Sky Moore, then yeah, then that would have been sufficient for me. But I like Phillips. I like his versatility. I like what he can do as the slot as a new Chester Rogers. But considering I wanted the Titans to take another wide receiver, a second wide receiver a little earlier, I can only come up with a B on that one as my grade. The last two grades, Theo Jackson out of Tennessee. I know a lot of you guys have a soft spot in your heart for him from the Tennessee connection. And then Chance Campbell, I'm giving sixth round picks a C plus. They're dart throws, guys. That's all a sixth round pick is. And as we saw with Racey McMath, and as we saw with Brady Breeze, and as we've seen with a Cole McDonald, or as we've seen with a Luke Falk, or plenty of other sixth round draft picks, the odds are they're probably not even going to make the roster. So I can't give any kind of crazy grade on a sixth round draft pick. I'm going a C plus for both Theo Jackson and Chance Campbell. Not going to give it a C or lower because it's a dart throw and you never know what could happen. But at the same time, I can't give it too much higher than a C plus either because these guys are most likely barely going to make the roster. Probably not even make the roster. They're, as Wes says down here, I agree with you, Wes. They're flyer picks. They're dart throws. No big deal about that. So, to wrap up our grades here, I'm going to go through one more time and recap all the grades that I've given out so far. Treylon Burks, because you can't separate the Burks selection from the A.J. Brown trade. That's a B for me. Next, Roger McCreary, a B for me. Very good player, but the need at the position, his defined role as a rookie, it's a bit murky, although good potential there. That's a B for me. Nicholas Petit-Ferrer, a B plus. A guy who fits the scheme perfectly in his skill set. Good value at pick 69. Nice. And a need. A need for the Titans. Excuse me. Next, Malik Willis. If you say anything other than an A plus, you're a lie. All right. What do the kids say nowadays? Cap. That's cap, bro. Malik Willis, perfect value, zero risk, great potential, perfect fit. There is no downside. Malik Willis, an A plus. Hassan Haskins, a B plus. Good fit, special teams value, potential to be important down the road. Chigakonkwo, an A minus. Potential, positional fit, diversity in the tight end room, fits a need, and great value as well. Kyle Phillips, a B. Slot potential, punt return versatility, good value late in the draft, but could have went wide receiver a little earlier in my opinion. Theo Jackson and Chance Campbell at the end in the sixth round, C pluses for me, both of them. So, again, this led to a B plus overall grade for the Tennessee Titans in the draft. And actually, I just kind of went through and gave my grades, just what I think they were. And then I thought B plus after I looked at all the grades I gave out. But then I decided to get a little more quantifiable. I like to quantify things. I like to put numbers to things. So if you go from an A plus all the way down to the F, where you go A plus, A minus, B plus, B minus, all the way down to F, it's 13 different spots. So if an A plus is a 13 and an F is a 1, and you go through and you go B for Burks, B for McCreary, B plus for MPF, A plus for Willis, B plus for Haskins, Okonkwo, A minus, B for Phillips, C plus and C plus for Jackson and Campbell, respectively. And that's 85 total points. You divide that by 9 selections. It's a 9.4, and a 9.4 is right between a B and a B plus, which I gave it a B plus. And if I had to go in between B and B plus, that would be more accurate. So, hey, whether you want to quantify it with numbers, whether you want to go off just my general opinion, it all lines up. I give the Titans a B plus for the 2022 NFL Draft, a B for Burks, a B for McCreary, a B plus for MPF, an A plus for Willis, a B plus for Haskins, A minus for Okonkwo, B for Phillips, C plus for Jackson and Campbell. There you guys go. That's my grades for the Titans draft. Now, coming up on Wednesday, I'm going to go over the undrafted free agents that the Titans have picked up. I've seen a ton of people talking about Reggie Robinson Jr. Yep, excited about that. Haskell Garrett, I'm excited about that guy out of Ohio State. So I'm going to talk about all those guys and much more, breaking down other things as well. Later in the week on Thursday, I'm going to have 3 Locked On college hosts on to break down prospects from their team so we can get an inside scoop on what these guys were like in college. And then on Thursday, or that's what's going to be on Thursday. And then on Friday, we're going to look at the team needs remaining for the Titans where they could still add veteran help, who's going to be available. We got a lot to discuss still this week on the Locked On Titans podcast. Make sure you don't miss any of it by subscribing on whatever platform you do stream. Guys, if you're watching on YouTube right now, subscribe. I put out Monday through Friday daily Tennessee Titans content all year long. Literally all year long. I put out 3 shows a week for like a 3-week span in July when everything is truly dead. But other than that, Monday through Friday, daily Tennessee Titans content, free all the time. Locked On Titans podcast, baby. It's your team every day. That's going to do it for me today, though, folks. Go back and check out the beginning of the episode if you're just jumping in right now. Talked A.J. Brown's comments about the Titans, giving out draft grades, all that and much more. Thank you all so much for tuning in. That's going to do it for me today, though, folks. As always, I am your host, Tyler Rowland, and this was Locked